Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today I want to talk to you about E3 and some of the games that really piqued my interest. Now, I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd, and combining Battlefield and Star Wars together is basically my dream come true, and Star Wars Battlefront had a very short teaser trailer at E3. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to give us any real information on the game, other than it's going to be old school Star Wars. They've got the Forest Moon of Endor, they've got the Battle of Hoth. The very brief demo of the graphics look amazing. Whether or not that graphic style or that graphic fidelity maintains through launch is another question entirely, but if it can, I think we've got something that is going to blow people away. Another game that really stirred things up at last year's E3 was Tom Clancy's The Division. I was hoping to get a bit more gameplay this time around. Instead, we got a very cinematic trailer that told us a bit more of the story and started to develop the world that we're going to be playing in. The trailer is very cool. Again, it is a bit of a teaser in the sense that I want to see some of that gameplay. I want to know what this game's actually going to be like. I think people are getting a little bit skeptical just because of games like Watch Dogs that had that initial trailer that blew people away, and then the game actually came out and it was kind of like a Grand Theft Auto-esque game. I'm not going to say it's a bad game, but in terms of the hype that they built up behind it, it certainly didn't live up to it, and I feel like The Division could fall into that area, but I'm still quite excited for it, and I really want to see more gameplay. Now, there's 3 open world games that I'm actually really looking forward to playing. One of them is Shadows of Mordor. I'm kind of a big Lord of the Rings nerd as well, but Shadows of Mordor just looks like a crazy, brutal fighting game that's open world. Gives you a lot of strategy as how you want to approach it. You can build up armies, and the fighting just looks amazing. The graphics really look like a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to play an open world Lord of the Rings style game. The second open world game is Assassin's Creed Unity. Now, even I'm a little surprised that I'm really looking forward to a new Assassin's Creed game. I mean, they're not bad games, but in terms of the innovation between all of them, it's more of a storyline development as opposed to an actual gameplay development. And I will say Assassin's Creed Unity looks very much like the same thing, except that they've added this massive graphical improvement of huge crowds throughout the city. This just adds this like element of realism that I don't think I've seen in any video game to date. Nobody's really done crowds of this size that feel realistic and look like they're reacting realistic to, say, an assassination in the middle of a square. So this is very cool, and I'm going to keep my eyes open for more details on this title. The third open world game is called No Man's Sky. Now, the trailer for this starts off with something that looks like a alien safari. A guy is walking around this alien planet. There's giant dinosaurs, well, alien-style dinosaurs and weird vegetation and stuff. And it looks very cool, graphically interesting, but then he hops into a little spaceship, flies directly off the planet through the atmosphere and into space completely seamlessly. There's no loading screen, there's no weird things going on, and then he engages in a giant space battle with fleets of spaceship warping in, fighters going through, blowing things up, flying through asteroids, and then he flies directly through the atmosphere of an entirely different planet and starts flying around the surface of this new planet completely seamlessly with no loading screens. This is the kind of game that you sort of dream about when you're a kid, and then when you get a little bit older you realize that the technicalities of making something like this are just so vast that it's probably never going to happen. But because of their awesome looking procedural engine, it looks like they have actually achieved something very close to what lots of people have always wanted to play. So I cannot wait to see more information on this and play it when it comes out. Now, because E3 generally speaking caters to bigger titles, not so much the indie developers, there wasn't a huge amount of information coming out on Star Citizen during E3, but sort of around E3 there was still a lot of cool new info coming out. They've got a great media team going on and a great website constantly promoting the game. And I have to say that they have stayed true to their initial vision, and the scope of Star Citizen I think is beyond any game I've ever seen before. They're going to have a fully realistic simulator space combat, probably more realistic than any other space sim I've ever seen, and at the same time you're going to be able to enter the atmosphere of other planets, land, get out, shoot at guys with your blaster gun, go on away missions on planet surfaces, and really just explore the entire universe of Star Citizen. It's my prediction that very few games are ever going to be able to match the scope of Star Citizen in terms of what you can do in this, and the graphics currently are just phenomenal, and I cannot wait to play more of this game. There is a multiplayer alpha out right now, which looks very cool, and it's all set up to be played with the Oculus Rift as well for an amazing virtual reality experience. I just cannot wait to play this game. Probably more excited for this game than just about anything else out there, maybe tied with Destiny. Now, Destiny had a very big appearance at E3 this year. There was a multiplayer beta that people were messing around with on the floor. At the same time, the alpha was going on, and I got to get into the alpha on PS4, play that a bit. Now, I'm not a huge console gamer, you know, I'm PC Master Race, whatever you want to call it. I like playing games on the PC, but Destiny has built up the lore so well so far. They've really developed a backstory. The art is phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of the original Halo games. The multiplayer in Destiny feels very much like Halo, and the open world environment feels awesome. It feels like you're playing a Halo single player, except with not being tied down to one specific mission. It seems like you can just kind of go in whatever direction you want, and the game will sort of facilitate that and group you up with people randomly. You can play with friends, you can do specific missions, you can play in multiplayer with your buddies, you can collect awesome gear that has different properties, and then you can take that gear into the multiplayer side of the game. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's not like Destiny is really breaking a lot of ground in terms of innovation, but the whole package together just feels very solid, and they've created a world that I'm really excited to explore. And speaking of console releases, PlanetSide 2 on PlayStation 4 looks like a really solid game. I saw it a bit at E3, and when that game comes out, I think it's really going to take over the free-to-play titles for PlayStation 4 at least, and it could be a very, very successful game because I don't think console players have ever really had access to a first-person shooter of that scale before. Not to mention PlanetSide 2, generally speaking on the PC, we all turn the graphics way down because the game is, well, it's poorly optimized for the most part. But on PlayStation 4, the graphics were really high. It actually looked better than it did on my PC. So I think it's going to be a really good experience on console. And of course, I did get to play Hardline, and I'm quite excited for the next Battlefield title. Of course, I've been covering that quite extensively outside of this video. Let me know what you guys think of all the titles that were announced or shown at E3. What are you looking forward to most? I'd love to hear in the comments. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.